Hi, this is Ange Pompano, author of The Mysteries Diet of Death and When It's Time for Leaving. Kick back with me and listen to Ann Dark, Tracey Stormy, and Kathy Knight with their guest on the Dark and Stormy podcast.
Hello, and welcome to Dark and Stormy Book Club. Today we are going to play part 2 of what we're reading for December. Enjoy.
I'm Ann Dark.
I'm Tracey Stormy.
And I'm Kathy Knight.
And together we are
It Was a Dark and Stormy Book Club,
a podcast for mystery lovers.
Welcome.
If you enjoy our show, please consider contributing to the Dark and Stormy Patreon. By becoming a patron, you will help us create better and quality content. There are also benefits to becoming a patron, such as exclusive content and Dark and Stormy merchandise. Become a supporter at patreon.com/darkandstormybc. Check our website for the link. We appreciate any and all contributions. Thank you.
All right, well, I'm up next, and I am very excited to talk about, I read a collection of novellas. It's put out every year by Kensington, and they always do a Christmas theme. And this year's is Christmas Scarf Murder. I look forward to these every year because they're quite fun. Carlene O'Connor is the top biller on here, and she's the one that I'm most familiar with. And then Maddie Day and Peggy Ehrhart, all three great authors. You know how yours was a novella. I feel like I got a bonus content when it comes to these series. Carlene O'Connor, I've read every single one of her books. I love the O'Sullivan family. I feel like I'm part of them. And as a side note, I just had my DNA tested and I found out I'm a lot more Irish than I thought I was.
Well, there you go. Perhaps you are an O'Sullivan.
Yeah, maybe
somewhere back there.
So that was a nice little surprise. Each one of the novellas in this book, I don't know, Miss, when they do these type things, do they say, oh, well, we need stories about Christmas scarf?
Yes and no. I mean, my experience with them is that they tend to pick out the 3 authors that they want, and they say, this is what we're looking for. Anybody have any ideas? And then somebody says, how about Christmas scarves? That happens. Or conversely, they pick out the 3 authors and they say, we need stories about Christmas scarves. Go on and do your thing. And then they bring them back and they edit them together.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Christmas Scarves was the tie-in between
it's Christmas scarves were the tie-in.
That was very nice on the word usage there. The tie-in.
Obviously, they you would think, okay.
See, you didn't even realize that you did it.
I didn't do it on purpose.
The scarves with the tie-in. That was completely unintended. I heard it and I
it just
thought,
flows.
You are chef's kiss on the arrival of you and your physics today. You are on a roll. Keep bringing it. That was lovely.
You would think that obviously somebody's going to get strangled with a scarf. And in one of the stories they did, it was in Carlene O'Connor's book. It's a Christmas parade and the tractors are on parade and the guy's scarf gets hung in the motor and strangles them.
One of those. Don't drag me down the street.
But that sounds accidental. That's not a murder.
No, it's not. It comes to find out that there were some items stolen, and one of the items stolen from the old age home was a very long scarf along with some jewels. And I'm in awe in the fact that each one of these stories, I listened to it, and matter of fact, Callie Boulay was the narrator and she did a excellent. She had an Irish accent for the main book, but then she switched over to an United States
okay.
for the other two. I'm going to review mostly the first one because that's the one that I love the most. The O'Sullivan family is Siobhan Sullivan. She gets married to, shock, shock, a cop. He's a
Yeah.
Garda. His name is Medora Flannery. They're basically on their honeymoon, but they've got a passel of kids, and this is the first year they're going to be spending Christmas together and living together. There's lots of love and lots of hijinks and with
Well, the
kids.
kids are her brothers and sisters, right?
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
They got
exactly.
a passel of kids.
Dogs, name it, it's in there. I felt like I was reading a full-length book, and like with her other books, I didn't want it to end. But Maddie Day, who I adore, I've met her in person quite a few times at Malice Domestic. This is how it goes. The Christmas Scarf Murder by Carlene O'Connor is 8.5 in the series.
8.5. Okay.
Yes. So you're getting a little bit of this. So then Maddie Day's is the Country Store Mystery Series. That's 10.5. And then Peggy Ehrhart is 8.5 for the Knit and Nibble Mystery Series. This came out in the fall of this year. And if you're looking for a lot of fun, I was riding in my car listening to it, and I was laughing hysterically at something that happened in the book. And I said, oh my gosh, these people probably think I'm nuts.
Let them think whatever they want.
Yeah.
You know the truth that you really
Yep.
are.
Yes. We know the truth too.
That's awesome. So there are 3 shorter stories within the worlds that are already created, but you could read them if you hadn't read the other book.
Oh yeah, but like I said, I had never read Peggy Ehrhart, and I very much enjoyed that. I think with Cozies, they're so used to, and I'm sure you are too, used to just filling in the blank. You know that every time you put out a new book, you have to give that little, this is this person, this is this person,
Yes.
and it's just something you got to do. And actually, when they don't do that, I get a little upset.
Right.
Because we used to be the member of a book club at our library, but since COVID, I don't think it's coming back. And they would assign us a book, and sometimes it would be in the middle of a series, and it'd be
Oh.
like, okay, well, who are these people?
Yeah, that's hard. That's very hard.
That is the Christmas Scarf Murder.
Awesome. Awesome. So
So
then
now-
that makes me come up, which very nice work on the segue there to say that if you don't know who the characters are, sometimes it's frustrating, because I read this very odd author, has the same name as myself.
Oh, did you cheat?
Varnished, I know, right? Varnished Without a Trace. Set at Christmas. One of the reasons that I read it is that I'm writing another tally called Par for the Hearse. And I wanted to make sure that I knew what the heck I was doing, and that I didn't automatically change Tally into something else or have the wrong name for her dad, or, you know, you just never know. And so I was going back through it. I'm laughing at my own stuff, which it could be narcissistic. I don't think it is. I think it's just the joy of looking at something and going, wow, that doesn't suck. Maybe people did read it for a reason. But in this one, because it's called Varnished Without a Trace, that we begin at bingo,
Yeah,
which in
I'll
Pennsylvania,
remember this one.
yes, in Pennsylvania, it is a death sport, and that's just all there is to it. I once went to bingo with my grandmother on my father's side, and she was going to leave me there because I had won bingo, and I was too young to have done that. I had not put in my time at the table to be able to, you know, actually win. And so she was like, you have to give that money to me. And I said, no, I do not. And I was like, maybe 12. And she's like, oh, yes, you do. And I said, oh, no, I don't. She said, fine, I'll leave you here. And I said, well, it seems to me I just made enough money to get a cab. So have at that. Misty, 1 point on maybe not always as respectful as I could have been to the elders. I'm just saying. Of course, in most books, you're going to exaggerate I don't know that I have ever been to a bingo game where truly people are throwing things, but I have heard that it happens sometimes. So that was one of the things that I loved. I was like, oh yeah, we're totally throwing things at the caller. That's all there is to it. So things are winging. And then Tally tries to sit down at the wrong spot. This is a huge no-no because people have a specific spot that they have been sitting for the last 82 years. Don't you dare sit there.
And they save seats for their lucky trolls.
Yes, that's the next thing. My grandmother had a white bag with a bunch of holsters around it. I'm pretty sure this was probably like a painting bag that you could put like the little paints in. No. It was trolls. It was trolls and angels. So and the daubers, because daubers are
Oh, the
important.
daubers, yeah.
But so you need a dauber, but you also need one of those electric wands, because if they're going to make you play with the little colored disc with the metal ring, you need to be able to swipe them correctly. The other thing that I've played bingo with is dried corn, as you do in little French fry dishes. Because so my top amount of cards that I can run, that I've ever run, is 6. My grandmother was 24. And she was still looking at mine because she's like, you missed that one. And she's like, the dauber is going like she's a machine. B9 has been called. Every card needs at least to be looked over. And then she would glance and I'm like looking, it's one line. B, I have maybe 2 at the time, still looking at B. You missed it. There. And I'm like, Mom, I've got this. No, you don't. You want to hit it with your dauber that I gave you and the little troll. And I'm like, all right, I don't think this is quite what I thought it was going to be. Thought this was like a fun night out for the girls. Apparently, no, we have entered death sport.
It's cutthroat.
It is.
It is definitely cutthroat.
And then if somebody wins, you don't like, it's a whole other line, especially if what's on the line is cash. One thing if it's like those fun bingos where they do like gift baskets, or it's a Longaberger basket, or a Vera Bradley handbag or something.
Yeah.
Whole other ball of wax. If it is physical cash coming your way, you better just wear the armor. That's all I'm say on that one. So in this book, one of the things that I did was, there's a woman, not everybody's a big fan, but they're a big fan of her husband, and her husband runs the hardware store, and he's like everybody's uncle, and she's just kind of not the nicest person ever. And so when Tally leaves bingo, almost forgetting her prize, heaven help her, she nearly stumbles over this not so awesome woman who has been beamed in the head with a can of varnish without a trace. There you go. I know, it's all about the title, baby. And then what ensues is a whole lot of fun. People who aren't who they say they are, for reasons that you don't quite get until the end. I have had a lot of people who like this one just because it got twisty, and it was very twisty. But it's so much fun. One of the things that I absolutely love about Cozy Mysteries is you won't know without a shadow of a doubt that justice will be served at the end. Maybe with a plate of sauerkraut, because that's a thing here in Pennsylvania too. God forbid you don't go get your pork and sauerkraut on January 1st. I don't eat either. When we do the January 1st, New Year's Day, you eat the pork and the sauerkraut because it's supposed to make the rest of your year better. My thought is, if you have spent the worst day ever having to eat pork and sauerkraut on the 1st of January, everything after that has to be better. That's just all there is to it.
Makes sense.
So I eat hot dogs and mashed potatoes, and you're just going to have to be okay with that. I'm like, this is the only time of year that I think that I pair a nice vintage hot dog with a lovely hand-prepared mashed potato, but whatever. So we have it at the...
You're so
Wait a minute. What's a vintage hot dog?
I don't know.
That's scary.
Let's say a vintage company. Because they don't always go for the big supermarket brand names. Sometimes you're getting the things from the butcher down the road. Which
they aren't those red things.
No.
Those are nasty.
No.
Vintage implies old, and I thought,
right.
Old hot dogs? No.
Okay, here's a little story time. So here in Mechanicsburg, when we first moved here, my daughter was 4. And so we were walking around town, just kind of checking things out. And there was this little tiny glass fronted place on the corner of Main and Market. And I was like, oh, do you want to go get some lunch? Let's go to this little lunch counter. I used to eat at Woolworth lunch counter. I loved that thing. I'm so sad that they don't exist anymore.
Me too.
And so we walked in and I was like, oh no, it did not smell good.
Me
You
too.
could tell that it was the same group of people who have probably sat there for the last 50 years. I don't know that they actually get up to go home. I think they just, well, there were hot dogs rolling on, those 7-Eleven.
Sweating on those.
Yeah, they look like they have maybe been there for a little while because my kid's like, I want a hot. I was like, no, you do not. You don't even want a hot chocolate. You know what we're going to do? We're going to get a Sprite. And it's going to be good. We poured out the Sprite. It was flat as anything. And I was like, yeah, if you can't even give me a sparkly Sprite, I am not buying those hot dogs because I feel like they're more of a showcase now instead of a real eating thing.
Don't you know those hot dogs are plastic? They're not real.
I don't know.
Because
I don't
nobody ever
know.
buys them.
Nobody ever
Very
buys them.
possible. I still get scared when I go to like Love's or Sheets and Sheets doesn't do it. So Love's has the rolling hot dogs and taquitos and stuff. And I'm like, I think I'll take a tasty cake. Thank you. I appreciate the offer. But, and I know some people love them. My husband loves them. And I'm like, you eat that over there. So in Varnished Without a Trace, one of the reasons that I'm reading it is that, yes, I do want to get like the flavor, as you were talking, Tracey, about an in-between book, or if you have read the series, then you like the continuation. If you're just starting the series, sometimes you like the flavor of it to see whether or not maybe you want to go back and start from the beginning. And because I haven't written one of these in like 3.5, almost 4 years, I'm like, please don't mess this up. Please. So we're going to read it. So when you guys were like, we're doing a Christmas book club, and I'm like, fine, I'm reading myself.
Okay, where does the Christmas come in this book?
So it is Christmas. It's Christmas Eve for the bingo. And then Tally's grandmother is there, which her and her mom do not bond well over many things. So I love family stuff. I love personal stuff.
Where's the vacuum cleaner?
The vacuum cleaner that Anne will never, ever, 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 ever let me live down, which I love. Bring it on. And so I've really felt like Christmas was a good setting for this. I like when Christmas books are set at an appropriate time. So when I was saying earlier about why now, was one of the things that I love about books that are set in a season that makes sense, like the Halloween ones or 4th of July, or something is happening in wedding season at wineries, which is a lot of times the August, September kind of around here. June used to be a thing, but June was a thing back in the day because they took like one bath a year and they took it in May. And so June, what meant that you were clean. And that's why people carried flowers down the aisle, was that it masked the body odor.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, learn something new here on the Dark and Stormy Book Club. Again, when the setting is a character, I feel like the time of year that you choose can be a character. And I love Christmas stories too, even ones like Home Alone and that kind of thing, movie wise, because it very much pit what Christmas is supposed to be against what you're dealing with at Christmas and makes them smash into each other. And I'm like, yes, come on, let's go. And I'm going to say I did that. I hope other people think that I did that too with Varnished Without a Trace, but it was a lot of fun to read my old book. I will say, unfortunately, I too was surprised by who had done it.
Forgotten?
Yeah, I played against myself and somehow did not manage to win. So I was like, who is this? And I'm thinking, you could read the end. And I was like, no, that's totally cheating. You're not going to do that even to yourself. And then at the end, I was like, I see what you did there. I see what I did there. I see what I did there.
That's hilarious.
If I can surprise myself, then hopefully I've surprised other people too. It takes place at the Washington Fire Company, which I don't call that in the book because I don't want to get in trouble for killing people in the town, which I know I've said before, but they actually call themselves Washies. And this is the firehouse that has the fire truck that on New Year's Eve, we have a wrench drop, which I know we've talked about this before, but anybody who's first coming in, if you are in central Pennsylvania, most towns drop something on New Year's Eve, and it has to do with your name. So we are Mechanicsburg, which means that it was started by mechanics, because this is how very creative we are in Pennsylvania. Mechanicsburg, started by mechanics. So the town next to us is called Dillsburg. They drop a pickle.
Absolutely.
And then we have Hershey, who drops a Hershey Kiss. That makes sense. We have Lebanon, that drops a really large bologna.
I was thinking bologna. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And then we have Lisburn. Well, they drop their pants. So they are on a creek called the Yellow Breeches. And so they actually run pants up a flagpole and then drop them. And they do an earlier one at 8 o'clock for the tinies so that you can tell them that they've done the New Year's Eve, put them to bed, and then wait 3.5 hours to do your own real New Year's Eve. But yeah, so here we have an 8-foot wrench that resides at JoJo's, and it's lit up. And so they pull out the fire truck, they raise it all the way up, probably like 20 feet or so, maybe 2 stories. And then as the countdown goes, they drop the wrench to the ground, and then everybody is excited about
Misty, you have so much material.
I know, right?
Somebody's got to be under that wrench when
Yes.
it comes down. Aha.
Yeah.
The evil mayor.
Yeah, well,
Get rid of the evil mayor.
Right. So our mayor, that's been our mayor forever, I think he stopped, but he always wore a top hat, and he actually owned Ritter's Hardware. So it was Jack Ritter. He had like the big pea coat and the black top hat and stuff. And so in Varnished Without a Trace, it is Ritter's Hardware that this guy runs. So I call it something else. And so I've had people like, did you clear that with the mayor? And I'm like, how exactly do you ask? Do you mind if I kill someone in your hardware store? I hope that's going to be that's not going to be a problem. I have done that though. And I was told in the basement at this particular establishment. And I was like, well, I like
That's the pizza place.
Yeah. I was like, I write books. And he's like, oh, well then anywhere. And I was like, wow. So if you ever get
That's a little
yeah, if you ever get invited into a basement in Mechanicsburg, you might want to start walking quickly the other way. So, but yeah, so it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to revisit myself. It was a lot of fun to fool myself. And I was like, I remember in junior high, I was in gifted classes. I don't know where that went, but perhaps it'll come back. But it did launch me then into being excited about writing this new book. So
Very good. That's cool to know that another tally's coming out. That's very
cool. As soon as I write it. Yes. I just did a book signing and I had somebody say, so when's that coming out? I was like, I'm pretty sure you had said October. I'm like, what are you doing? Reading my newsletter that I sent out?
How dare you?
Don't be pinning me down on dates that I put in a newsletter.
That's okay.
What's wrong with you?
That's okay. We've had a book that we've been saying we're going to review for like 6 months now.
Good job. Hey,
I wasn't sure if that was the one I was supposed to be prepared for. I'm prepared for both, actually.
Oh,
I'm prepared, but I don't feel like doing it. It's my bedtime.
I understand. But yeah, so that's it for me. I love this. I have to tell you guys how much I appreciate being included.
Oh, we love it.
Well, thank you. But
is there going to be a new Gabby coming?
Yes, in July.
Okay.
All That Glitters Isn't Old.
That sounds Christmassy.
Yeah, not quite. It's the middle of, I want to say it's a July setting, I believe. And one of Goldie's old flames comes back to the island. and bad things start happening, and Pops is not very happy with the way things are rolling, and then Wit gets dragged in because we have to prove XYZ, and Wit is like to Goldie, like, seriously, head out of the clouds, and Goldie's like, nope, do it because I told you to. So it's fun. I turned it in. I have a cover and everything, so I'm excited. I'm just like, okay, so what else are we doing? Because I'd like to continue that series, but I'm excited about continuing Tally. And then I got all of my rights back for all of the Ivy books.
Good.
Hey,
Yes, so
very
we're
good.
gonna put those out, and then I think I might be doing Ivy's Intrepid Investigation book series.
Ooh.
You heard it here
Wow,
first.
Very excited.
I know,
Very
because she would be
exciting
in
news.
A
her
Dark and
mid-40s.
Stormy exclusive.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Dark and Stormy exclusive announced here first. I will let you know how things go. But yeah, I think I want to roll back into the Ivy world. A lot of people very much enjoyed that. And it's set in Virginia. And I could technically have Ivy and Tally cross paths.
No.
Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff in there
Interesting.
that could be
Maybe
a lot of...
they could meet in Maryland.
Oh, we could do that. Oh, I could have them meet in Ellicott City.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you
Like
could.
Ellicott
You
City.
could.
That's one of
But
the
you
places.
could call it Ellicott City.
I could, right? Sorry, Ellicott City. See, sometimes it's about the accent. If you weren't here, well, I don't think we talked about it while we were recording. We were discussing accents earlier because there's Lancaster and Lancaster,
Yeah.
and there's Lebanon and then Lebanon, and apparently there's Ellicott and Ellicott. So be faster on that last. I have a friend whose name is Carrie. Everybody calls her Carrie. Like you would, and I'm like, where are you from? And she's like, outside Philly. I was like, so your name is Carrie? And she's like, yep. I was like, oh, nobody says it like that, do they? She's like, nope.
Trivia. Last week's question was, which author worked for a publisher and left to become a systems analyst and then returned to writing? A. Ann Perry, B. Dan Brown, C. Reese Bowen, or D. Lincoln Childs? The answer is D. Lincoln Childs. In 1987, after founding the company's mass market horror division, Lincoln Child left St. Martin's Press to become a systems analyst at MetLife. Child's first novel, co-written with Douglas Preston, Relic, was published in 1995, and he left the company a few years later to write full-time. This week's question is, author Tony Hillerman was inspired by what author? A. Mark Twain, B. Charles Dickens, C. Louis L'Amour, or D. Arthur W. Upfield? Tune in next week for the answer.
Well, ladies, this is our last episode of 2022, and we've had a very interesting year and had some sad things happen too.
Yep.
So let's end this with our best wishes for a happy new year, because we will not be together again until then. So I would like to wish people happy reading and happy connections with other people, like my connections with these three lovely ladies here. That is my wish for this new year.
Awesome.
I
Thank you.
wish everybody a healthy, happy new year.
I wish everyone a wonderful holiday season, whatever holiday you choose or choose not to celebrate,
Absolutely.
and a healthy, safe, happy new year.
I wish that you don't get a wrench dropped on you on New
I'm staying away from wrenches for New
Right,
Year.
or a pickle for that matter. I'm
A
not saying-
pickle. Yeah, I don't think I want a
I
pickle
don't know
dropped
how
on me
big of a
either.
pickle we're talking. You know what? I am going to research that. I will let you know next year. Is it
Okay.
a real pickle Because if it's a real pickle, that can't be that dangerous. But if it's a fake plastic pickle, I feel like this is something I need to know. So, but yes, everyone, I hope that you have the most joyous of seasons, however you choose to celebrate, not celebrate, whatever it is that you're doing. I hope that it is with an abundance of joy and an abundance of knowing how much you are loved by those around you as well as us.
That's a
Well
lovely
said.
thought to end up with.
And Dark jumping in here to remind you, even though we're going to be off for 3 weeks, we will be playing best of episodes, so be sure and tune in. We will have our first new episode on January the 10th. We wrap this up, and remember,
Life would be boring without a little mystery.
one,
Misty needs to.
What is the
help with
word?
this.
What is the word? What am I saying?
It's just
two,
bye.
Bye.
Bye. Okay. I hope you keep that in there. I really hope that you keep it. We're like, wait, what am I saying? Is it a phrase? No, it's one word. It's bye. Good Lord. Oh, God. All right. Hey, if I can
Yeah,
surprise myself.
All right,
bye.
how
with a
about if we
mystery.
do this? I'm going to change things up.
No,
I'm going to change it up.
Oh,
How about if
don't
we
stress me
say
out.
happy instead of bye, happy holidays?
Okay, I can
okay.
do that. All right.
Okay.
Let me
All
get
right.
myself
Ready?
ready.
On 3.
Happy
holidays.
Holidays.
Good enough.
Really.
Good enough.